Billionaire CEO's top engineers failed, then a single dad janitor's acoustic genius quieted the chaos. Have you ever seen a moment where the world's brightest minds failed, but the most unexpected soul, the one everyone overlooked, became the savior? Imagine a billionaire CEO's top engineers standing helpless, watching chaos unfold, and the only one who could restore calm wasn't a genius in a lab coat but a tired janitor with mop in hand and a heart full of quiet genius. Before we begin, if you love powerful stories that inspire kindness and hope, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Kindness Stories, because every story we share has the power to touch your heart. The city of Glassmore was alive with innovation. Towering skyscrapers shimmered in the morning light, and at the center of it all stood Stratos Corporation, a technology empire run by billionaire CEO Adriana Cole. Her reputation was built on vision and relentless pursuit of progress, and now she was preparing to unveil the most ambitious creation of her career, a self-learning sound frequency system called the Silence Project. It was designed to cancel chaos in urban cities, to bring peace where sirens, traffic, and industrial noise stole people's calm. The media called it the invention of the century, investors called it the future, and Adriana believed it would change humanity forever. But on the eve of the unveiling, everything went wrong. Inside Stratos Tower's top-floor research lab, the system malfunctioned. Instead of canceling disruptive sounds, it magnified them, creating waves of piercing noise that shattered glass panels and sent workers fleeing. Engineers tried desperately to control it, but the chaos grew worse with every second. The system that was meant to deliver peace created a storm of sound so violent that even the most brilliant minds in the room could do nothing but panic. Among them was a man no one paid attention to. Ethan Hale, the janitor, stood in the corner with his mop in hand. His uniform was worn, his shoes scuffed, his back tired from endless nights of cleaning up after the geniuses of Stratos. No one asked his opinion, no one cared about his presence, but Ethan had something they didn't. He wasn't watching numbers or charts or computer models. He was listening. Ethan had once dreamed of being a sound engineer. He loved music in its rawest form, not just as entertainment but as life itself. He could spend hours breaking down why the hum of a cello could bring comfort or why the strum of a guitar could awaken courage. In his small apartment he kept a collection of broken instruments he salvaged from junkyards, fixing them late at night when the world was quiet. But his dream had been sacrificed. When his wife died, he had to raise his daughter Lily alone. Ambition was replaced with survival. His nights of composing gave way to nights of sweeping floors, but music never left him. It lived inside him like an unshakable truth. Now, as the chaos of the Silence Project rattled the room, Ethan heard something the engineers didn't. Beneath the screeches, the shrill frequencies, the violent distortions, there was a pattern. It was like a broken symphony searching for its missing note. His heart pounded, and for the first time in years, he felt that long-buried genius stir. The engineers were screaming at one another, sweat dripping, hands over their ears. Adriana tried to stay composed, but her face was pale as she demanded solutions. Someone shouted to shut the system down, but Adriana shook her head. If they shut it down now, the investors would abandon the project and years of work would crumble. Desperation filled the room. And that was when Ethan stepped forward. He dropped his mop, walked to the control panel, and shouted above the noise, telling them their system wasn't broken, it was out of tune. For a second no one even processed his words. Then one engineer burst out laughing. A janitor talking about tuning frequencies? It was absurd. But Adriana heard something different in his tone. His voice wasn't panicked or uncertain. It was steady, calm, almost certain. She locked eyes with him and asked him to repeat what he'd said. Ethan told her sound wasn't a machine, it was music. And right now, their creation was simply playing in the wrong key. The engineers scoffed, some muttered insults, but Adriana was a woman who recognized truth when she heard it. She made a bold choice in that moment and told him to show her. Ethan's hands trembled as he approached the console. He hadn't touched high-end equipment in years, but instinct guided him. He closed his eyes and listened, really listened. Each frequency was like a note, some clashing violently, others lingering unresolved. He began humming softly, an old lullaby he used to sing to Lily, letting the melody guide him as his fingers adjusted the controls. Slowly the screeches softened. The feedback diminished. The chaos faded into a quiet hum. Then came silence. Not the terrifying emptiness that follows disaster, but a peaceful calm that wrapped around the room. The engineers lowered their hands, stunned. Adriana let out the breath she'd been holding. The glass stopped shaking, the machine settled, and for the first time that night, there was peace. Ethan stepped back, exhausted, his mop lying forgotten. No one could believe what had just happened. The man they ignored, the one they dismissed as invisible, had tuned the impossible by ear. Adriana walked toward him, studying him with new eyes. She asked who he was, and he gave a small smile and said he was just a janitor who listens. It could have ended there, with Ethan slipping back into obscurity, but Adriana was not the kind of leader to let talent go unnoticed. She called an emergency board meeting. The investors arrived furious, demanding explanations, threatening to pull out. Adriana stood tall and told them the truth. Their future rested in the hands of the man they overlooked. At first they didn't believe her, but when they saw Ethan demonstrate his gift, when the system responded flawlessly under his tuning, they fell silent. Slowly they leaned in, realizing what they were witnessing. From that night, Ethan was no longer sweeping floors outside the lab. He was inside, guiding engineers, helping them understand sound not as numbers but as harmony. He became the quiet genius behind the Silence Project, and Adriana made sure the world knew it. When the day of the unveiling came, the world held its breath. Crowds filled Times Square, journalists lifted cameras, skeptics waited with folded arms. Adriana took the stage, but when the system powered on, the moment belonged to Ethan. The blaring of horns, the grinding of construction, the roar of traffic, all of it melted into a blanket of serene hush. People gasped, some cried, as the invention turned chaos into calm. The world called it revolutionary, but Ethan didn't think of it as revolution. To him, it was simply listening. Standing in the crowd was Lily, holding her father's hand. She looked up at him with wide eyes, whispering that he had saved the world with music. Ethan felt tears burn in his eyes. For so long he thought he'd failed her, thought she'd never see his light. But here she was, watching him shine brighter than ever. In that moment he realized that the chaos of his life had finally found harmony. And so it was that the billionaire CEO's top engineers failed, but a single dad janitor's acoustic genius quieted the chaos. Not only in the city filled with noise, but in his own heart and in his daughter's future. Sometimes the ones we overlook are the very ones who hold the answers. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to Kindness Stories, because every person, no matter how unseen, has a gift that can change the world.